It is an absolute pleasure to welcome author Kelly Grettler to our new series of author interviews. Welcome, Kelly, who is based in Texas, USA, and thank you so much for taking the time to share your book with teachers here in the UK. I believe your book title that you'll be sharing with us today is Maisie McGillicuddy's Sheep Got Muddy. Oh my goodness, such a tongue twister, but I love the title. So I would love to get right stuck into the book because it's such an interesting title. I'm wondering what's going on. But before that, let's hear a little bit more about yourself as an author. Tell us about your journey. How did you come to be writing children's books?
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me because I really love what you guys are doing. And it's an honor to be able to be a part of it, especially from all the way across the pond. This is exciting for me. So thank you very much. Actually, it started when I was a child. I think I was about 10 years old, and I had a wonderful teacher who had an assignment. I don't remember a lot about that year in school, but I remember that assignment. She wanted us to get little notebooks. I think mine was just a little spiral notebook, and she wanted us to write every single day in that notebook. And she said, I will not be grading it. I won't even be reading it, but I will look to see that you wrote something. And
Wow.
that kind of gave me the permission to just write, let my brain, come out onto the page, whatever my brother did to me that day or whatever. And it got me comfortable with pen to ink. And then it got me in the habit kind of throughout all the years of journaling. And then when I got to middle school, it was another teacher, my favorite teacher of all time. And I'm actually Facebook friends with him. I found him on Facebook. I'm so excited, Mr. Tim. And he
Oh,
used to have all these prompts and have us do creative writing assignments. And I just loved it. And he was the first person that ever told me, you're good, you can write, you could do this for a living. And my head like exploded. And I kind of always kept that in my back pocket. Somebody that knows what they're talking about thinks this about me. So that's just a testament to teachers and how much of an influence they have over little lives. And then I didn't really start actually writing books until I became a mom, and I would see, my kids going through. Actually, the first one, my youngest was an infant, and I was just kind of rocking him to sleep one night, and I was sort of whispering rhymes to him. And when he fell asleep, I wrote down what I had said. And then that, to this day, that was my first book that I ever put out, Underneath the Mimosa Tree. So it's just been, I've just gathered
wow.
inspiration throughout my life, gotten comfortable putting pen to paper, and it's fun for me. I love doing it. I have about hundreds of journals all over the house. That's, it's fun for me.
That's absolutely amazing. Such an inspirational story. And straight away, you've kind of raised such an important point about the value of teachers when it comes to developing not just readers, but readers who become writers. The fact that you were unencumbered by assessments, you could just write to your heart's desire was what gave you that momentum to actually develop into a proper children's author that you are today. And I think that that is so inspirational and such a wonderful story. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
give us a bit of a synopsis about give us a bit of a synopsis about the book that you are about to share with us today. So tell us a bit more about Maisie McGillicuddy's Sheep Got Muddy.
Okay, well, I can't tell you the synopsis without telling you where I got the inspiration for this book. I was on a trip to Ireland kind of recently. It was in 2019, such a good year. Can't we all go back to 2019? And we were in Ireland, and we were up in the northwest part of Ireland where the Slieve League cliffs are. And most people, I don't know if they've heard of them. Everyone hears of the Cliffs of Moher, but the Slieve Leagues are bigger and more amazing.
Yes.
And we had this driver, and he was driving us up to this parking lot by the Slieve Leagues. And he stops the car, and he got out, and he opened a little gate. And then he drove us through, and then he got out again, and he closed the little gate. And then he drove us to the parking lot. And I was like, what's going on with the gate? Like, why don't you just leave the gate open? Why? And he was like, and he just said so matter-of-factly, he's like, oh, that's to keep the sheep in. And I thought about that kind of the rest of the trip, because you know how in Ireland, there's just random sheep kind of randomly on the roads and this and that. So I started thinking, I was like, those poor sheep, what if one of those sheep were to get out? What would happen? You know, and I just kind of kept thinking about it. I had a journal with me on that trip, so I jotted down some notes. And then on the flight home, I wrote the entire outline. So the synopsis for the book, I know, it's so fun for me. It basically wrote itself on the flight. So the synopsis is a little girl named Maisie. She is living on a little sheep farm, a wee sheep farm up in Northwest Ireland. She's got some sheep. She's got her best friend sheep. And one day he wanders out of a gate that's left unlocked, and he ends up lost and a little bit kidnapped. And he starts this journey to find his way back home, while his girl, Maisie, she starts a journey to set out to find him. And they're going in opposite directions around Ireland, trying to find each other, and they're just way away from each other, and they're hitting all the great spots. They're hitting all the iconic, you know, places that we love about Ireland. And it's fun. There's a map too in the back, so you can kind of track their journey. So that makes it kind of fun. So that's the synopsis.
Oh my goodness. It sounds really, really interesting. And, you know, I can just imagine children, particularly children who have never even been to Ireland, because we do have, especially now that we've got COVID going, there's lots of family trips that were planned that have been cancelled, you know, and I'm sure that has limited even more children's ability to get to explore and to know all the different parts of the United Kingdom. And I'm certain a book like this could almost open up a window where they can imagine and they can explore. What do you think children are really going to get from this book? What do you think they'll enjoy the most?
One of the things I hope they enjoy is the suspense of it all. It's kind of a little bit of a page turner. So I hope that they're a little bit excited about that. I hope they see themselves either in the sheep or in the little girl. The sheep is sort of innocent, and he's gotten himself into a pickle, and he's trying to figure things out, but he sort of just keeps persevering. Whereas the little girl, she's kind of really smart, strong, you know, friend, and she's searching. And then I think they'll enjoy the illustrations. The illustrator is from Russia, and they're done in a collage style, and they're remarkable. And every illustration is of a real place in Ireland. So it's really, really a beautiful book. And I also think, because some of the moms are coming back at me with this, I think they're going to enjoy the map in the back and the key, the map and legend. So
yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
There's nothing more than interesting to children than a map, because the first thing they think of is treasure. So they start trying to figure out, what does this map lead to? So that is definitely a wonderful addition. So in which case, I think that kind of brings us to the connection with the British national curriculum. As you know, reading for pleasure is very much at the center of learning in schools here in the UK. Research has proven that reading for pleasure leads to an increase in attainment right across subjects. And it's something that I'm quite passionate about, that teachers here are quite passionate about. However, we are faced with the dilemma of having to balance reading for pleasure and reading for understanding, which means that while we would love our children to just enjoy books, we also have to teach reading skills to deepen their ability to comprehend a variety of text. So what I'd like to know from yourself is, where do you see your book being an asset within the UK classroom in terms of connections to the national curriculum here?
I think many different levels. I think, first of all, maybe there's a geography sort of aspect to it with the map and the key and learning about Ireland. Perhaps they could take it a step further and say, why don't we draw a map of the UK, or give assignments to kids and they can do maps of all the countries, or they can just study the map. So there's that aspect. Definitely there's some bigger words in this. It's a richer text and so vocabulary. It's very poetic because that's how I like to write. So hopefully it could even be used in the poetry sort of things. Maybe it'll instill a love for writing. So I think it's sort of all over the place. Maybe it can be used for different things.
Yes, it's got several layers to it.
Yeah.
Definitely, it has several layers to it. And which age group would you say your book is most likely to be accessed by?
I think the younger, where they're about 7, 8, 9.
The lower key stage 2 be the most appropriate age group for this book. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you while you read us an extract from your amazing book. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I so appreciate the opportunity. Okay, so he lay on his back in the mud, upside down. Shamrock saw that his snowy white fleece had turned brown. Then he tossed and he kicked and he let out a bleat when a black and white dog came and nipped at his feet. Shamrock scurried and hid between 2 fluffy cows. With eyes wide, the sheep wondered, just where was this house? The dog herded and snapped as he ran left and right, round the cows and poor Shamrock till they huddled up tight. With the sound of their hooves on a cold steel floor, Shamrock heard a man's voice, then the slam of a door. Afraid and confused and impossibly stuck, he was now heading south on the back of a truck. So this is the moment when Shamrock,
Amazing.
The sheep's name is Shamrock, and I don't know if you can see on the truck, he's brown because he landed in the mud and he's with cows and he accidentally is on that truck now heading south in Ireland. And this is I think in Sligo, but yeah. And then
that's amazing.
Oh, I wanted to share some of the pictures just to show, like, this is the Cliffs of Moher. And fun fact, there's really cows up at the top of Cliffs of Moher. So that's what gave me the idea. And then I'll share one more. Hopefully everybody knows what this is. The Giant's Causeway.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the popular
that's lovely.
places. And then the map. Let me show you guys the map. So the map was really kind of confusing for us to make. So it shows everywhere that they go. And then over here is the key. And I've been told that the kids, they just love to look up the places. And then they even take it a step further and they look them up online to learn more about them. So that's really fun for me to hear.
That's amazing. Straight away, I can hear so many links in terms of national curriculum. I can hear, obviously, links to geography, map reading skills, but I also hear connections to historical research where children can go off and explore these places online, through books as well, in terms of gathering information, learning all about Ireland and all the key historical places, the key architecture, the key land formations. There's so much there that children can really have fun with while exploring the story of this sheep. It sounds amazing. And thank you very, very much for sharing your wonderful book. It is always such a pleasure to hear the author's voice behind the children's books. Finally, can you just share with us, where can your book be purchased here in the UK?
It is on Amazon in the UK. It's on Amazon all over the world, actually. And it might be wherever you guys buy books. I don't know, like we have Barnes & Noble over here. So it might be worth a Google to see where else you can find it.
Well, thank you very much again. We look forward to hearing more about your books as your writing journey continues. I'll make sure that we place links to Maisie McGillicuddy's Sheep Got Muddy in this video. And thank you so much for joining ReadMaster for UK Teachers, home of the author's voice.